We're here today to mark two things. One is the 20th anniversary of World AIDS Day, and the other is the 25th anniversary of AIDS Vancouver. AIDS Vancouver is very proud of the fact that we were the first AIDS service organization in Canada to form, realizing that the epidemic was something that we needed to respond to. And we're proud that we've continued offering innovative programming and services for prevention, education, and support for people living with HIV/AIDS for 25 years.
Welcome, my name's Gord Price.
I'm Noah Stewart.
And we've been asked to talk about the very early days of this organization. My recollection is I got a call from Noah and an extraordinary chap who I think we always want to remember as really being the impetus for creating this organization and everything that's happened subsequently. You knew him well.
Ron Alexander Slater.
Ron Alexander.
Who didn't live much longer than the first year or so of the epidemic, but yes. Ron Alexander, everyone in this room probably owes a debt of gratitude to Ron Alexander Slater. So.
Ron was one good-looking dude. And mighty pissed that from friends that he had around North America and what he could see coming to Vancouver, no one was paying any attention to. And my recollection is he wanted someone to do something.
Yeah, he decided that we were all going to put on a public forum to inform people about AIDS.
It was very Judy Garland. And that's exactly what we decided to do. We didn't even think that we were going to be setting up an organization. This was just an attempt to get the information out as fast as we possibly could. So a few of us organized West End Community Center meeting.
Yes, and we printed up a couple of hundred copies of a brochure.
Right.
We ended up being much better organized than I can account for.
It was an extraordinary meeting. Needless to say, it was a turn-away crowd, far, far greater than anything we expected. And we saw right away something that I think informed the basis of this organization. It was just people coming together with no agenda other than simply saying, hey, I gotta help in any way that I can. We had complete cooperation from the medical community, gay and straight, and they put together what was a pretty extraordinary panel. I remember them all sitting up there at the front.
It was an amazing response, really, considering that most of them were studying it up until hours before the presentation.
Yeah, a lot of it was contentious, and indeed there was a moment at that meeting, I guess many of us remember in retrospect as much as what was happening at the time, of a man who came forward. As I recall, he was all in leather, and he was aggressive in his questioning.
Yes.
And who was that?
That was Gaetan Dugas, who was perhaps better known to many people as Patient Zero.
Afterwards, we all went over to Robson Street and sat at a table in what was then a kind of the only sidewalk cafe in Vancouver, enclosed in glass. You might remember that. I remember Paul looking around at us, the organizers, and saying, well, you realize this is just the beginning. You don't stop now.
Yes.
You've got to take this energy and direct it in ways that is going to continue to build on what you've done. And that became
AIDS Vancouver. Just to be here today and look around at the people that I see and the enormous number of amazing things that are going on in the name of AIDS Vancouver. 25 years ago, we had no idea. We had no idea what would happen, what this would become. And I know we all wish that this organization had no need to exist, but since it does, I am so damn proud of you all.
And for all of those of you who made the contributions after many of us who were there, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I started when I retired. I had to do something, and I don't like discrimination, so I came down to AIDS Vancouver. That was in 1991, and the fools accepted me. And I did my first shift in January of 1992, and I just learned to do things along the way. My fondest memory of AIDS Vancouver, oh golly, there have been so many. In the first place, the training when I was taking mine was just phenomenal. It was just so wonderful. And I've made wonderful friends, but they care about me as a human being, not just as a volunteer. And they're very, very kind to me. They're wonderful.
To meet the people that I see, I get to see everyone on a weekly basis, about 600 people that most other folks around don't get to see in terms of our staff because they're working in their offices and things like that. So in terms of a frontline perspective, I get the instant connection with people, which is really wonderful. And I get to see instantly what these programs actually do, you know, providing food and how that can actually benefit someone kind of firsthand.
I really love working with people. I enjoy listening to the questions that people have and helping to provide information. And it's also interesting to see, just what people's concerns are. I think a lot of times people just want to talk to somebody, because anytime anything has to do with sex or needle use, people all of a sudden become really scared and closed up. So I think when you actually go into a space and say, no, like, I'm here to help answer questions, and you know, nothing you ask me is too silly or too strange. I think that helps, and I think people do appreciate that.
It's got to be the clients, because sometimes they'll come in and they're in a really down mood, you know, for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have housing or whatever. But I can usually make them laugh, and then you feel good, because even if it's for 10 minutes, they're happy. And that's, I think, all most people need in life. It's just a little bit of happiness.
Oh, I get more out of it. I get far more out of it. When I go into the prisons, and I'm privileged to hear stories of people's lives. And having raised 7 kids, I know the difference between a story and the truth. Mother is not always a good word, but grandma's pretty good. So I go around giving grandma hugs to everybody. And it keeps me alive. And I need it. Selfish.
World AIDS Day is an important day when we stop and think about those people that have died from AIDS and the people that become newly infected in the last year. And our hope at AIDS Vancouver is that we'll reach a point where one day we'll have a World AIDS Day where we can announce that there have been no deaths to AIDS in the year and no new infections.